2022 Ford Bronco, Jeep Wrangler, and Land Rover Defender. Which is the best off-roader to live with day to day? That's what we're going to find out. Welcome to Car Help Corner, where we help you, the consumer, master the process of car buying and car ownership. In this video, I'm going to be comparing the Bronco, Wrangler, and Defender on regular roads in the real world to see what they're like to live with on a daily basis. Even though all three of these are very capable off-roaders, the majority of buyers are just going to be using them like regular cars 90% of the time. So to find out which is the best off-roader to live with on a daily basis, make sure to stick around to the end of this video. We're going to start things off behind the wheel of the Ford Bronco, which probably has the most hype around it in this trio. The nostalgic design and distinctive look definitely grab a lot of attention out on the road, especially if you option one out like my test car here with this cyber orange paint in the two-door configuration Wild Track trim, which gives you all of the good off-road goodies. I'm a big fan of the way this thing looks, and I also like the interior as well. It feels very modern and up to date with a lot of great technology like this huge touchscreen infotainment system, which has great looking graphics, a pretty good user interface, and comes standard with Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. Above the screen, we also have controls for the locking front and rear differentials, an electronic disconnecting sway bar, and we even have USB ports and a mount for camera equipment so you can record yourself when you're off-roading. We've also got all of our off-road controls like a selectable four-wheel drive system with a fully automatic mode and our GOAT modes, which give you these really cool animations as you cycle through the different drive modes. There's also a good amount of space in here, even in the back seats with this two-door version, and if you go for the four-door version, you get a much larger cargo area too. Ford has also given the Bronco all these extra little conveniences. For example, the doors are frameless, which makes them a lot easier to remove than the ones on the Wrangler, and they're even stowable in the cargo area on the four-door version. Another area where the Bronco is mostly a winner is the way it drives on the road. Because it has an independent front suspension like you get on a crossover SUV, it's pretty comfortable to drive on the road. Having said that, it still does feel pretty jittery, and there's definitely a lot of road noise, especially as you get up to highway speed. As long as you're not expecting this to be as comfortable and easy to live with as something like, say, a Honda CR-V, it should be perfectly fine. The Bronco gives you a choice between two different EcoBoost engines. You can get either a 2.3-liter turbo 4-cylinder with around 300 horsepower, or you can get a 2.7-liter twin-turbo V6 with 330 horsepower. A smooth shifting 10-speed automatic transmission is standard with both engines, but you can also get a 7-speed manual with the 4-cylinder too. My test car here has the V6, and even though it's great having all that extra power and torque, I'm not exactly sure whether it's absolutely necessary. The 4-cylinder still provides plenty of power and is probably better suited to the Bronco's more laid-back driving feel. Now, some might be concerned about the fact that given the Bronco is an all-new vehicle, what exactly is it going to be like in terms of its reliability? Well, when it comes to its build quality, Ford is pretty hit and miss, and they don't exactly have the best track record when it comes to launching a brand new model. Early versions of the Bronco have already had plenty of reported quality control issues, so it might not be the safest choice to go with if you're looking for the best reliability. That being said, I wouldn't expect it to be any better or worse than the Jeep or Land Rover, which don't exactly have the most trouble-free reputations either. Another disadvantage to being an all-new vehicle is that the Bronco doesn't have as much aftermarket support as you get with the Jeep Wrangler, although I suspect that will most likely change over time. If you're buying an early Bronco, you're really buying into the nostalgia, the look, and the way it makes you look and feel on the road. Considering this is an all-new model and Ford's first go at a proper Wrangler competitor, it's pretty impressive how good this thing really is. It's a pretty satisfying off-roader to drive with a lot of great qualities, and the Jeep and Land Rover definitely have their work cut out for them. Tomorrow I'll be dropping off my Bronco test car, hopefully with better weather on the road, and picking up the Wrangler and Defender at the same time to see how they do. Alright, behind the wheel of the Jeep Wrangler. Now right off the bat I can tell that this definitely has a very different driving experience when compared to the Bronco. It feels a bit more truck-like to drive, and that probably has something to do with the fact that it uses live rear axles on the front and rear, as opposed to the Bronco, which has a fully independent front suspension. The Wrangler also uses a more primitive recirculating ball steering setup, as opposed to a more modern rack and pinion steering that you get on the Bronco. It feels a bit bouncier and definitely wanders a little bit more on the road, especially as you get up to highway speed. Now the Bronco is definitely no crossover in terms of comfort, but the Wrangler definitely takes things to the next level. Now, the fact that I'm driving the Rubicon version definitely doesn't help things, because that's the most off-road oriented version of the Wrangler, but The Bronco that I was test driving was the Wildtrak, which is equally off-road capable, and between the two, this is definitely a lot more work and more tiring to drive. In this trio, the Wrangler does give you the most options in terms of drivetrains. The most popular one is the naturally aspirated 3.6-liter V6 engine, which you can get with either a 6-speed manual or an 8-speed automatic transmission. You also have the choice of a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder, which is available in a regular gas version, or you can get it as a plug-in hybrid, which is the one that I'm test driving here. And you can also get the Wrangler with a 3-liter turbo eco-diesel, as well as a 392 V8 if you want serious performance. The V6 is the only way to get the 6-speed manual. All the other engines come with the same 8-speed automatic. Now, even though this turbo 4-cylinder does make pretty decent power, it definitely doesn't compare to the twin-turbo V6 that you can get in the Bronco. That being said, if I were buying a Wrangler, I'm not sure I would go with any of the turbo or 4-cylinder options anyway. I like the fact that the Wrangler is the only one in this group that you can get with a simple, naturally aspirated V6 engine, which is the one that I would go for. Its well-proven track record, simplicity, and durability just suits the character of the Wrangler a lot better. And you're going to have less to worry about down the road in terms of repairs as well. Now, even though the Wrangler doesn't quite hold up to the Bronco on the road in terms of the driving experience, one area where it is more evenly matched is the design and the interior. Jeep did an excellent job designing the interior of the Wrangler, making it both functional and up-to-date in terms of technology. The touchscreen infotainment system is not as large as the one that you get on the Bronco, but it's definitely easy to use and has a very good menu structure. All of the controls are very well laid out, and I like the fact that the Wrangler keeps some old school touches, like a traditional handbrake and a mechanical 4-wheel drive and gear selector. Even though I am a fan of the interior, there's definitely a few annoyances. For one thing, because you have the full door frames, the doors are more cumbersome and difficult to remove compared to the ones on the Bronco. You also lose the side mirrors when you take off the doors compared to the Bronco, which keeps them mounted on the car. And even though removing the roof is about the same amount of work on both, the Wrangler keeps this crossbar in place as opposed to the Bronco, which gives you a full open air experience. That being said, there are other benefits to choosing the Wrangler. For one thing, the Wrangler has been around for a very long time and has an established reputation, so you know exactly what you're getting. And even though Wranglers are not exactly known for their stellar long-term reliability, it's definitely a safer choice than the Bronco, which has had some early quality control and teething issues from being a completely new model. The other thing that's well known and established with the Wrangler is its great reputation for very high resale value. Now, given the strong demand and crazy markups that we're seeing on Broncos, I wouldn't be surprised if it ends up being very similar, but as of now, the Wrangler is the safer one to go with in that area. It's pretty clear that in this group, the Wrangler is following an old school off-road formula closest. And while that's great if you plan to do a lot of off-roading, it might not be so great if you're just planning on driving one of these on the road day to day. I'm starting to get a pretty clear picture of how these three off-roaders fall in line, but it's time to get behind the wheel of the Land Rover Defender and see how it does. And finally, behind the wheel of the Defender. Now, some of you might be wondering, how exactly can you compare a Land Rover, which is a luxury SUV, against a Ford or a Jeep in terms of price? Because the Wrangler and Bronco that I have are fully optioned top trims, a Rubicon and a Wildtrak, and the Defender here is pretty much a base P300 model, they're all within $5,000 of each other in price. But even though this is an entry-level Defender, I really don't feel like I'm missing out on much in terms of features or luxury. My test car doesn't have a sunroof, and these front seats are manually adjustable, which is pretty odd for a luxury vehicle, but aside from those two omissions, this interior is nearly as nice as a Range Rover. Everything feels very high quality with excellent materials and finishes, way above what you get with the Wrangler or Bronco. The tech is also very impressive in here. We've got a large touchscreen infotainment system with great looking graphics that's pretty easy to use, and we also have a fully customizable digital gauge cluster behind the steering wheel. The interior is also airier feeling and more spacious than what you get with either the Bronco or the Wrangler. This definitely feels like the most practical and family-friendly one of the trio, so if you're looking for an off-roader that's equally capable as an everyday SUV, then the Defender is definitely a very good choice. The other thing that makes the Defender a great day-to-day off-roader is just how comfortable and easy it is to drive. The Defender is the only one in this group that has a unibody construction with fully independent suspension at all four corners, and that's part of what makes it such a comfortable SUV. The handling, the steerability, and the ride quality are all excellent, far better than that of both the Wrangler or the Bronco. Now you can get the Defender with a couple of different drivetrains, a base 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder with close to 300 horsepower, or you can get a turbo inline 6 mild hybrid that makes around 400 horsepower. The P300 that I'm testing here has the turbo 4-cylinder, and honestly, it's perfectly fine and has more than enough power for this SUV. One advantage to the inline 6 is that it does have a smoother engine start-stop system because it's a mild hybrid, but aside from that, this engine is perfectly fine. This is a great driving SUV and definitely the easiest one to live with on a daily basis, but I guess that's to be expected from a luxury vehicle. Unfortunately, the other thing that you can expect being a Land Rover is an iffy reputation for build quality and reliability. Land Rovers are not exactly well known for their low repair costs and longevity, but then again, the Wrangler and the Bronco are not exactly leaders in those areas either. If you're looking for an off-road SUV that's designed to last for hundreds of thousands of problem-free miles and give you the best long-term reliability possible, then a similar choice that you could go with is the Toyota 4Runner. The 4Runner is built to last an extremely long time and has one of the best reputations for longevity. Out of this trio, however, which of the three is it ultimately going to be? Well, if you're looking for the most dedicated off-road experience, there's no question about it, the Jeep Wrangler is still a very good choice to go with. It's a very well-designed off-roader and has a legendary reputation, so you know exactly what you're getting when you buy one. But that being said, it's also the least street-friendly of the three and the most challenging one to live with on a daily basis. So if you're looking for an off-road SUV that's a bit more comfortable and easier to live with every day, then the Ford Bronco is definitely a better choice. Not only does it have a much better driving experience for day-to-day use, but it also has a really good interior and that eye-catching nostalgic design that grabs a lot of attention out on the road. But as good as it is, the Ford Bronco is definitely not the most user-friendly and comfortable one in this trio. That title definitely goes to the Land Rover Defender. The Defender really feels like the luxury SUV that it is, and if you're careful with the options, you don't need to spend a lot more money in order to get one. That being said, all three of these are excellent off-road vehicles that do different things extremely well in their own way. This might be one of those situations where it comes down to personal preference more than anything else, but one thing's for sure, if you're in the market for an off-road vehicle, you have some really good choices to go for. So let me know what you think of the Ford Bronco, Jeep Wrangler, and Land Rover Defender. Which of these three would you buy, or would you buy something else instead, like a Toyota 4Runner? Let me know in the comments. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like and subscribe. You can also take a look at some of my other car videos by checking out these links over here. Make sure to follow me on TikTok and Instagram. And if you need any additional car buying advice, recommendations, or help with getting a great deal on your next new car purchase, make sure to check out carhelpcanada.com. Thanks so much for watching, and see you next time.